Most girls are taught to avoid risk and failure. They're taught to smile pretty, play it safe, get all A's. Boys, on the other hand, are taught to play rough, swing high, crawl to the top of the monkey bars, and then just jump off head first. And by the time they're adults, and whether they're negotiating a raise or even asking someone out on a date, they're habituated to take risk after risk. They're rewarded for it. It's often said in Silicon Valley, no one even takes you seriously unless you've had 2 failed startups. In other words, we're raising our girls to be perfect, and we're raising our boys to be brave. Some people worry about our federal deficit, but I worry about our bravery deficit. Our economy, our society, we're just losing out because we're not raising our girls to be brave. The bravery deficit is why women are underrepresented in STEM, in C-suites, in boardrooms, in Congress, and pretty much everywhere you look. In the 1980s, psychologist Carol Dweck looked at how bright 5th graders handled an assignment that was too difficult for them. She found that bright girls were quick to give up. The higher the IQ, the more likely they were to give up. Bright boys, on the other hand, found the difficult material to be a challenge. They found it energizing. They were more likely to redouble their efforts. What's going on? Well, at the 5th grade level, girls routinely outperform boys in every subject, including math and science. So it's not a question of ability. The difference is in how boys and girls approach a challenge. And it doesn't just end in 5th grade. An HP report found that men will apply for a job if they meet only 60% of the qualifications. But women? Women will apply only if they meet 100% of the qualifications. 100%. This study is usually invoked as evidence that, well, women need a little more confidence. But I think it's evidence that women have been socialized to aspire to perfection, and they're overly cautious. And even when we're ambitious, even when we're leaning in, that socialization of perfection has caused us to take less risks in our careers. And so those 600,000 jobs that are open right now in computing and tech, women are being left behind. And it means our economy is being left behind on all the innovation and problems women would solve if they were socialized to be brave instead of socialized to be perfect. So in 2012, I started a company to teach girls to code. And what I found is that by teaching them to code, I had socialized them to be brave. Coding, it's an endless process of trial and error, of trying to get the right command in the right place, with sometimes just a semicolon making the difference between success and failure. Code breaks, and then it falls apart, and it often takes many, many tries till that magical moment when what you're trying to build comes to life. It requires perseverance. It requires imperfection. We immediately see in our program our girls' fear of not getting it right, of not being perfect. Every Girls Who Code teacher tells me the same story. During the first week, when the girls are learning how to code, a student will call her over and she'll say, "I don't know what code to write." The teacher will look at her screen and she'll see a blank text editor. If she didn't know any better, she'll think that her student spent the past 20 minutes just staring at the screen. But if she presses undo a few times, she'll see that her student wrote code and then deleted it. She tried, she came close, but she didn't get it exactly right. Instead of showing the progress that she made, she rather showed nothing at all. Perfection or bust. It turns out that our girls are really good at coding, but it's not enough just to teach them to code. My friend Lev Bree, who's a professor at the University of Columbia and teaches Intro to Java, tells me about his office hours with computer science students. When the guys are struggling with an assignment, they'll come in and they'll say, "Professor, there's something wrong with my code." The girls will come in and say, "Professor, there's something wrong with me." We have to begin to undo the socialization of perfection, but we gotta combine it with building a sisterhood that lets girls know that they are not alone. Because trying harder is not gonna fix a broken system. I can't tell you how many women tell me, "I'm afraid to raise my hand. I'm afraid to ask a question because I don't wanna be the only one who doesn't understand, the only one who's struggling." When we teach girls to be brave and we have a supportive network cheering them on, they will build incredible things. And I see this every day. Take, for instance, 2 of our high school students who built a game called Tampon Run. Yes, Tampon Run. To fight against the menstruation taboo and sexism in gaming. Or the Syrian refugee who dares show her love for her new country by building an app to help Americans get to the polls. Or a 16-year-old girl who built an algorithm to help detect whether a cancer is benign or malignant, in the off chance that she can save her daddy's life because he has cancer. These are just 3 examples of thousands of girls who've been socialized to be imperfect, who've learned to keep trying, who've learned perseverance. And whether they become coders or the next Hillary Clinton or Beyonce, they will not defer their dreams. And those dreams have never been more important for our country. For the American economy, for any economy to grow, to truly innovate, we cannot leave behind half our population. We have to socialize our girls to be comfortable with imperfection, and we gotta do it now.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are waiting for the others to join and we'll start shortly. Please, if you haven't named yourself, well, please do so. It's first name, last name. Thank you.
Most girls are taught to avoid risk and failure. They're taught to smile pretty, play it safe, get all A's. Boys, on the other hand, are taught to play rough, swing high, crawl to the top of the monkey bars, and then just jump off head first. And by the time they're adults, and whether they're negotiating a raise or even asking someone out on a date, they're habituated to take risk after risk. They're rewarded for it. It's often said in Silicon Valley, no one even takes you seriously unless you've had 2 failed startups. In other words, we're raising our girls to be perfect, and we're raising our boys to be brave. Some people worry about our federal deficit, but I worry about our bravery deficit. Our economy, our society, we're just losing out because we're not raising our girls to be brave. The bravery deficit is why women are underrepresented in STEM, in C-suites, in boardrooms, in Congress, and pretty much everywhere you look. In the 1980s, psychologist Carol Dweck looked at how bright 5th graders handled an assignment that was too difficult for them.
Okay, can we have the first breakout room staff presenting?
Hello everyone, my name is Obianuju Okebuno, and I'm in Box Pressures 1. And my other team members are Judy and Oluwapelumi. Our topic is investigating WMI backdoors using Lokiara scanner, and I'll be walking us through some major concepts in our topic. First one is WMI. WMI is an abbreviation for Windows Management Instrumentation, and its purpose is to remotely take care of different operational environments of Windows, both locally and, as I said, remotely. Now, there are different ways which attackers can use WMI as an attack vector, and one of them is as a fileless malware attack. This is where the malicious software does not store codes on a file, but loads it in memory as commands and runs immediately. Second one is WMI hijacker. When an attacker hijacks the WMI of a Windows operating system, so they can control systems, software programs, and other network communications. And lastly, we have leaving off the land attack. This involves an attacker leveraging what is already available in the environment rather than bringing their own custom software and malware. Now, we have backdoors, which is what we're going to be investigating. And a backdoor is a malware program installed on a computer to allow an intruder carry out an attack to execute payloads or a malicious code. And security mechanism is not tampered with, but it is bypassed without the content of the user. And we have what we call C2 server or command and control server. It's a computer controlled by an attacker or cyber criminal, which is used to send command system to receive stolen data from a target network. Now, another thing I would like the audience to know is that WMI backdoors, they have certain features, and there are actually three of them. One of them is it prevents process execution, which means when WMI backdoors are being executed, they stop other processes from running. The second one is that they need to be executed at a particular time, and this is often scheduled after login. And finally, it retrieves further payload from a C2 server. So I'll hand over to my colleague Oluwakolimi. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Bruno. I'm going to be taking us through what we call indicators of compromise, which is IOC. IOC is like a